This guide will run through how to get the Aerial Unit R21 X drop from Mechagon Hardmode. Now this is doable soloable now by characters level 70 and beyond, so if you've been holding off on doing this, now is a good time to jump in and get yourself this mount. So what we need to do first of all is head over to the Mechagon dungeon, which we'll find on the Mechagon Island. You can fly there now if you've got flying in the BFA zone, so you can just head over there, fly straight to the dungeon, and do make sure you are on Mythic difficulty, otherwise the mount will not drop. Once inside, there are going to be various things that we need to do to kind of trigger the hard mode, and the first one is to kill the first 3 bosses in a specific order. The order is basically whichever one has the aerial unit flying above it, that is the boss you need to kill, because that's the more difficult version of the fight. So you'll look where the mob is, you can check on the map, you'll head over there and you'll kill it. Once that boss is dead, the aerial unit will move to another boss, you'll follow the aerial unit and then you'll kill that boss, and then you'll move to the next boss. Now one thing to keep in mind is the slime boss might throw you off if you've never been here before. To summon it, what you need to do is kill these kind of larger slimes within the area. They'll have a little robot inside them, you'll kill 3 of these. Once those are dead, the robots will walk over to where the boss spawns, and then they'll spawn the boss for you. Now that the boss is spawned, you can kill that one as well, once again assuming the aerial unit is in the sky. And then once these 3 bosses have been killed with the aerial unit above them, now we can move on to the 4th boss, which will be the HK aerial oppression unit. You'll know you've done things right so far because where the boss spawns, there'll be the tank buster, and this is normally just the tank buster, but on hard mode it should now be the tank buster MK2, which means you are on hard mode and we can move on with the fight. Now this fight is probably the more tricky part of doing this entire hard mode, because once you kill the Mark II, the boss is going to make you do the gauntlet, but the problem is we can't charge up the pylon reliably in time before the boss kind of kills us with the annihilation ray, and that is a one-shot regardless. So you've got 2 approaches to this. The first approach is once the Mark II is dead, we're going to run all the way to the start of the dungeon where the little like Mechagon town is, and you're going to stand roughly where the innkeeper is, or what would normally be. You'll wait for the annihilation ray to go off, and the second it goes off, you're going to start sprinting towards the boss. You're going to want mobility or anything that can kind of increase your movement speed, and you want to get to it as quickly as you can, because if the boss moves too far away from its area, it's going to reset, so we have to get to it before that happens. If you've done it successfully, now the boss will kind of follow you around, and then what we'll do from there is do the gauntlet, head up to the pylon, you'll charge up the pylon, and now we can kill the boss because it'll drop in front of you and it can die. The second method is once the Mark II dies, we'll do the gauntlet as normal, and you're basically just hoping for RNG, because there is a chance that you'll dodge the kind of resets that happen. So you'll start channeling the pylon, the kind of blue lightning goes off, and once that goes off, there's a chance that you can straight up just dodge it. So if you want to kind of go for the RNG method, then you'll do the gauntlet, you'll head to the top, and you'll just start channeling the pylon, and you just basically have to hope that you dodge enough of them in a row that you end up dodging all of them, and you'll do the pylon and you'll be able to kill the boss that way. Going to the in method is more reliable, assuming you do have the mobility to get back to the boss in time. Either way, do the boss, and then once that boss is dead, we can now make our way up the little path onto the next boss. Now in terms of the hard mode, there's nothing we need to know about this boss in particular, but if you've never killed this boss before, then one thing worth noting is the kind of mech robot, the one that's kind of a robot, not the tank. This needs to be hit by the hammers, because otherwise it's going to have this plate on it, and this plate makes it take way less damage. So you want to move it towards one of the hammers around the room, it'll get hit by the hammer will break, and now we'll move it to another hammer, and you repeat that until you can kill the boss. Once those 2 bosses are dead, we're going to jump down the hole in the center, and we can move on to the next part of the fight. The next boss we'll be moving on to is Cujo, and there is going to be something we need to do for this fight. On the left as you enter the room, there's going to be a little kind of robot waste pile, and you need to click that. Once that has been clicked, it'll fly into the furnace. We're going to wait for all of that animation to go off, and then once that has all been done, we can now kill the boss. The boss will be slightly harder, but as a max level character, it's still pretty trivial, so you're just going to kill it. If you need to hide behind the crates when he's doing the explosion, then do make sure you do that. But outside of clicking the waste and putting it in the fire, there's nothing else for the hard mode that we need to do here. Now that that boss is dead, we can continue up. We're going to go through this kind of flame gauntlet with the conveyor belt. You're going to make your way into the next room where there's going to be waves of mobs, and then we're going to move into this kind of gauntlet. The best thing I can say is just make use of the kind of steam areas, because these will kind of mask you from view and you won't get knocked back to the beginning. And also just be a little bit patient, don't try and like rush through a little gap or whatever, because you end up getting hit back to the beginning and you end up wasting more time like that anyway. But what you'll want to do is make your way to this steam pile on the very left hand side at the very end. We're going to wait for this robot to move past, and then we're going to make our way into the next section with the bosses. This is another boss where we don't need to do anything in particular for the hard mode, so you can just kill it and we'll move on to the final section of the dungeon. And so we're going to kill the trash here, you'll take the flying main unit to the final kind of little gauntlet of mobs. We'll kill all these mobs, and then before you enter the last boss room, there's going to be 2 methods we can take for the boss here, and this has a hard mode kind of thing. So the first method is you'll walk into the room, you'll click the button, and then from there we're going to rely on our DPS to be high, and we have to kill both phases of the boss within a timed period. If you don't do it in time, I think it's about 40 to 50 seconds, then you'll fail, and that is it done. The other method though is we'd pull the boss out of the room, so you'd pull him with something range, we pull him out of the room, we let him reset, we run into the room, and then you want to aggro the boss the split second he spawns. So I make use of the ox statue to kind of taunt him the second he spawns, but you have to do it really quick, because if you don't do it quick enough, then this kind of cheese method will fail. If you've done it successfully, what will happen is the boss will aggro, the button will disappear, it'll pop back up, and now it's going to be available throughout the fight. So what we can actually do is DPS the boss down in phase 1, we can get him into phase 2, we can even do a little bit of DPS to him in phase 2, and then we can click the button and finish off the boss, which gives you way more time to do it if you're not as confident in your DPS. Either way, choose one of those methods, kill the boss, loot him, and you should now have a chance at the mount. If it worked how it worked when it was back in BFA, then what happens is every person in the group adds 20% chance to the drop chance. So say you're doing it with 4 people who have the mount, 1 person who doesn't have the mount, it will guarantee drop for that person who does not have the mount. If you're doing it solo and you do not have it, it'll be a 20% chance of dropping. I have seen people say that they've changed this and it's now a 100% drop chance regardless, but if you don't get it, then do keep in mind that's how it works, or could work, and you'll have to do it multiple weeks to eventually get your drop. But it's a pretty good chance regardless if you're doing it solo, so just keep doing it, get your mount, and there you go, you've got the Aerial Unit R21X. And if this guide was helpful, definitely check out the link in the description below to go to True End Game's mount collector tool. You'll go on there, you'll put in your character, and you'll be able to see all the mounts you own and do not own. You can look at the mounts you don't own, and you'll be able to get a guide that's written and sometimes a video guide to go along with it to help you on your mount farming journey. Outside of that, look out for more guides coming soon. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.